Secretariat might be in the top 10 greatest athletes of all time.
Do you consider horses athletes? And if you do, where would you rank a great horse?
I can't say that they're not super athletic, and therefore, by that definition of athlete, they're an athlete. But they're also not human.
So 100 men versus a horse? 100 men?
Yeah, here we go. Let's do this.
I'm supposed to compare Secretariat to Michael Jordan. That doesn't even make sense to me.
100 horses or 100 gorillas? Who wins?
Silverback will destroy 100 horses.
What up? Cinco Squad back in the house, episode 160. The playoffs are heating up. Second round NBA playoffs, second round NHL, Stanley Cup. It's just been active, but let's just get right to business. Like I said, the NBA's been heating up. There's been a lot of upsets going on early in the second round, but something that got me thinking, Mike, of all the players remaining in the current NBA playoffs, who do you think winning a championship would do the most for their legacy?
So I had to think kind of a long time about this because I think there were a few players that either could jumpstart their legacy or kind of put a cap on their legacy in these playoffs. So I decided to go with Wardell Stephen Curry. I think this will mean a lot for his legacy if he can win this title because two things came to mind. One, it gives him 5, which is more than LeBron and 1 less than Jordan. So it puts him in, as far as championships go, it puts him in that next kind of tier up with guys that have won 5 before you get to the guys that have won 6. And if you talk about Robert Horry, 7. The other thing is that it would be his first career title and possibly only career title, the way Golden State might end up going and things like that, depending on how they end up kind of bolstering their future, is only one without Clay. And so as far as like the Splash Brothers thing go, I mean, everybody knows that Steph is the better player of the two of them, but to win one without Clay at an older age and to be in that upper echelon with those 5 championships, I think that would mean a lot to his legacy and possibly add to the case that he's made of being a top 10 player all time.
Well, I mean, he won one without Clay pretty much a couple of years ago. He only beat Boston. Clay was like, non-existent in that finals. I mean, he was the reason why they won that championship. So Clay was like a shell of himself in that final. So I disagree on that one because it was without Clay the last time against the Celtics.
Yeah, but he means
he was. Clay was there.
Yeah,
but still, I still don't think it was Clay.
Championship is not just about the championship. Clay was still there for the entire journey. So there's certain games they wouldn't have won without Clay. Certain other playoff games to led to it. So like saying that's the totality you have to look at too.
So I guess
not just
you, Mike, is like, what does that mean if Clay was there or not there? Like, go on a little bit more about that because I don't understand that. Like, are you saying because he without Clay he can now win a championship, or with I don't get that.
Well, it proves that proves truly that he has always been, so to speak, the straw that stirs the drink for Golden State. They don't have Clay, they don't have KD, which they arguably needed to get over the top when they played Cleveland the second time. So it shows that Steph, as far as, despite the fact that he is smaller than a lot of other players, he's had injury issues. There was questions coming into his career about his ankles and if he was going to be able to hold up. And yes, he is the greatest shooter God ever created. I agree with Stephen A. when he says that. But it proves that Steph really is that great, that he is a guy that can fully lead a team to a championship without the guy that's always been. Batman can beat up the bad guy without Robin, I guess is an analogy I would use.
I guess I see that. I mean, I saw that before, even with KD, because they won a championship without KD before that, and that was solely because of the trio, right? But I just see him as like a top 5 player of all time, as it is.
Yeah, you don't actually believe he's a top 5 player.
I mean, he's. When you look at his game in totality, minus defense, I mean, I guess.
Let's do a quick exercise.
Right,
Michael Jordan, better or worse than Steph?
Michael Jordan, better or worse?
Yeah, Michael Jordan or Steph?
Jordan. I think Jordan's the great number 1 all time, so that was easy.
Kobe.
Fuck, that's tough. Kobe.
LeBron.
I don't know. That's a tough one, I think.
I don't see how you can say that when LeBron plays better defense, rebound, feels better. Exactly. Magic Johnson.
Magic.
Kareem. Yeah, we already got the 5 that quick. I didn't even talk about Bird. We didn't talk about a lot of people. He's not top 5. That's an extreme thing to say. When you get top 5, you got to be playing some defense too. Not that Steph can't play defense, but it has to be better.
Yeah, I feel like with Steph though, when we look at like championships, I think that's where a lot of people put a lot of the weight is. I don't put that in there, right? I don't put out he's got 6 champions, because if that's the case, Bill why am I drawing
Russell.
Bill Russell is the greatest player of all time. Then when it comes to that, if you're gonna go just
by
straight
far,
he's got the most, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and we always say that, like, the championships don't mean shit, right? It's what you do on the court in different situations and crunch time and everything like that. So I like Steph, but I guess my player that probably could solidify his legacy with a championship, and this is kind of going off the board for me, and is Russell Westbrook. I think if the way he's been playing, the way he's been having fun on the court, I mentioned this in our group chat, the way I see his game and what he's done in the NBA, kind of bouncing from team to team after OKC, not really finding a home, and it looks like he's found one to end his career at. To see him just be a key part when we've seen a decline from Jamal Murray, we've seen Russell Westbrook step up. And he's kind of been the glue to help everything kind of move in and out. I mean, look at the game winner the other night. He gets to pass up court, goes up, and finds Aaron Gordon. I think that's maturity. Because young Russell Westbrook probably would have just taken to the basket and tried to dunk it or do something. So that's maturity right there. So I think this would cement a legacy for him, that he finally gets a ring, puts a ring on my finger, and says, I've done everything. I've won MVP. I got the triple doubles award. I got, he's got all these accolades. Now he's an NBA champion. It kind of puts a cap on his career, maybe even retires after that.
I have a question on that.
Yeah, what's the question?
Quick question on that. I don't disagree with you, but that brings up the thought: if that happens, let's say Russ finally wins his title, do you put him over CP3?
No, I mean, no, just because I think CP3 is just he's a phenomenal player. It's tough because they're different. They're 2 different games, right? I don't think there's 2 different games where Russ wasn't ever a facilitator. He had to learn to kind of be that. CP3 was always a captain, always a leader of a team, and had skill, right? And it's kind of like this flip-flop, right? Like, Russ had all the skill and everything like that, learned how to be a leader. And it felt like as CP3 got older, he was starting to learn the moves and kind of get better with his handles and whatnot. So I don't see – that's a tough comparison. Like, I personally would take Russ over CP3, but that's just me. I like Russ's game, like the way the younger Russ. I like the way he played I liked the way he played basketball. But there's no shot at CP3. I mean, he's a phenomenal player too. He'll be a Hall of Famer, first ballot.
I mean, Russ is hard because he has the MVP. Chris doesn't.
Right.
Chris is more consistent though throughout his career than Russ, because Russ's lows were probably lower to the point where they've both been traded a lot. But when Chris got traded, he shows up and every team has, for the most part, gotten better. Russ has showed up and some teams he's been on has gotten worse. Even with the Nuggets, I mean, yeah, that's fine the other day. But I can't 100% say maturity with him, because we just watched in the Clippers series 2 games where we were like, hey, they probably won because of him. Then we had like 2 games we probably lost because of him. So that's the Russ experience. We don't really get – you got days where Chris maybe didn't show up. Maybe he didn't play good. But there are games where Russ literally loses them the game because of like negligence. So for me, I probably would go Chris. I mean, because at this point, yeah, Russ winning is fine, but it's not like he's winning as the best player on the team. If they win, Russ is probably still the 4th best player on the team. Yeah, I mean, at that point, because you're probably saying Gordon is more important and Murray. So at that point, I mean, not that it doesn't mean anything. It definitely helps the legacy because he will be an important factor if they win, but not as the 4th best player.
No. Who's your guy?
Talking
about you, Mike. Your question.
No, I'm asking you.
No, yeah. He means who's your...
Oh, I said Chris. I thought y'all got that in the answer. I was saying Chris.
No.
Who's legacy in those playoffs?
Oh, legacy do I got? Same team, Jokic. Jokic's legacy more.
Yeah.
Jokic has the one, which is fine, but two puts you in a different category. When you got 3 MVPs, possibly 4, depending on how this works out, there's a chance. Now, see, I know you said Steph could possibly top 5. I don't think the Jokic goes top 5, but Jokic may be able to make a case for top 10 at that point. Because Jokic is holding 3 MVPs. There ain't but so many people with 3 MVPs, possibly 4. Jokic has 6, 7 All NBAs. Jokic has done the triple-double thing in the season. Jokic is only 29. You got to figure he still has a chance to get more. And Jokic be clear-cut the best player in the league for basically a half of a decade. So, it ain't, again, that run, you don't got so many people with 3 MVPs, 2 championships, and have been consistently at the best player for half a decade straight. That doesn't really happen. So that's why, for me, I would say, yeah, I mean, like I said, Jokic is, 30 right now? And then the other thing, too, with Jokic, what makes this impressive is if they win this particular one, unlike the first time where they were basically rolling on home court, they did this on the road because they're doing this from a lower seed. Remember, they were almost in the play and had to be and had to basically ball out the last week of the season not to end up somehow in the play in. And then also the other thing I factor in Jokic is pretty much the coach. I mean, we've seen the clips. They fired the coach and the GM in the middle of the year, and Jokic basically became a player coach, which we haven't seen in years. So even that I have to factor into this. So for me, yeah, I think I would say probably Jokic. But speaking of people being coaches, we had a retirement this week. I mean, he's still going to be around the team, but Pop retired this week. John, what are your thoughts on, I guess, general thoughts about Popovich?
Yeah, so I was trying to put words together this week to try to figure out what I could say about it. It's like it was a bittersweet. I watched the entire press conference, and it was very bittersweet. It's sad to see him go, but it's also sad to see him in the state that he is. He can barely walk, can't feel the left side of his body from the stroke. It's time, I think, and I think time is of the essence. We talk about this now. He can go spend time with his family. Still be president of basketball operations. Doesn't need to kind of do everything. But obviously, I think he's top coach of all time. I mean, even if we're gonna just go championships, obviously you're gonna put someone else in front of there, Phil maybe, or Pat Riley maybe. But Pop, I think over generations, when I look at greatest coaches, it's evolving with the generation, and he's the best at it, and he's the best coach of all time. With that, Phil Jackson struggled from generation. Pat Riley seems like he's struggling right now. Can't get over the hump of winning a championship, and can't seem to get what's going on in the NBA right now. It just seems like the Heat they're doing great, but being a playoff team and just getting to the playoffs isn't shit, in my opinion. It's let's win a championship. Let's do something.
Pat Riley coaching, though. I mean, if you're
that's the GM part of him, right?
Yeah, you went to Pat Riley executive, which is different than Pat Riley coach.
Yeah, it's completely. It's like Jordan the owner, right? So I
coach. So that's
I mean I just think the way he evolved over generations and the way he was able to kind of adopt what's the new basketball like, right? We saw all the coaches in college basically that are all the old heads like Boeheim, Williams, Krzyzewski, Jay Wright, all those guys be able to not be able to adapt, and he was able to adapt and kind of see change and know that I got to change my coaching philosophy, but still kept the main points of his philosophy too. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but I just think like Pop was a iconic figure in the NBA. On the court, off the court, he supported his players, supported his team, supported everything, supported coaching staff, supported the WNBA, was a big component of like making sure that women were in NBA coaching and being a part of it. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you're good for the job, you're here. And a lot of times he would take on Becky Hammond. I mean, took her on. So he's just an iconic coach, and it's sad to see him go, but it's the time, right? Like we all say, the clock runs out at some point, and the clock has run out, in my opinion.
Speaking of Pop, Mike, we were doing our series of teams, of ancient teams versus current teams. I think you had one called Pop. So what team are you bringing to the table this week?
So, in honor of the unfortunate retirement of Gregg Popovich, because it is sad to see him go, despite the fact that I'm glad that he and the organization and his family are putting his health first, because that's the most important thing. For everything he's given to basketball, basketball needs to give back to him, and it is time. So, we're going to look at Pop's first title team. It's the 1998-1999 San Antonio Spurs, the birth of a dynasty, so to speak, the birth of the new Spurs as we know them today.
Okay, so I would say it would be up and down because I don't think it's always hard to do these because, for example, Steve Kerr is on that team. Steve Kerr can shoot, but Steve Kerr doesn't get to shoot as much because of the air. The two big lineup would be interesting if they were going against, like, let's say a Gobert or somebody, because now you can throw these two big bodies down there and eat that up, or you got two bodies to throw at a Jokic. But I think Jokic can figure it out with them because the thing is, remember, this is rookie Tim Duncan. So even though rookie Tim Duncan is exceptional and great, this isn't prime Nikola Jokic. At the same time, this is also David Robinson on last leg. So I think a lot of these teams will give it to them because of they had the perfect balance and it worked out. You had this young rookie phenom and his aging superstar, but you got some of these teams like the Celtics, for example. The Celtics got enough bodies to throw out there, and these guys and Jalen and Jason, the Jays, they're both like in their prime. You look at a team like the Knicks. I mean, I think they would get the Knicks here. Ironically, they played the Knicks in the championship with a very similar gritty style Knicks team. So because I saw that this Knicks team kind of reminds me of that, I would say they would beat them. And in the Cavs, I think the Cavs would beat them in healthy Cavs. Unfortunately, the Cavs have been not healthy because they have the two bigs. They're similarly built to what that Spurs team was. But I trust their backcourt more than trusting the Spurs backcourt of like you had Jaren Jackson Sr. and these people like that. I think Mobley and Garland would give it to them. So I mean that they would be all right in this generation, but I wouldn't say they would just run through all these teams. Mike, it was your question. Why? I know you brought up so much intriguing. Who you got?
So it is a closer matchup than I think the last one we did with the Red Wings in today's NHL would be, in the sense of there are a lot of teams, way more teams, and it's kind of a testament to what they did then and what Pop has done over the course of his career. There are a lot more teams built to beat that Spurs team than there was back then. I agree that a lot of teams have enough bodies and enough bigs to throw at Duncan and Robinson. I'm going to take the Spurs here in a lot of closely contested series because what really stood out to me about this whole roster, it's a young Duncan. So he's not prime Duncan yet. And it is an older Robinson and it's an older team, but it's an experienced team with Gregg Popovich as head coach. And what stood out to me was some of the basketball IQ that you can expect to come in any series from this team. It's a young Duncan who was already becoming Mr. Fundamentals as far as being kind of that five tool guy that's always going to know the right play to make. Not necessarily the flashy play, but the right play. It's Robinson who led the way and kind of ushered Duncan into the league, and I would imagine was a good mentor for him. Also a very smart player. And then at point guard, you had Avery Johnson, who ends up becoming a pretty solid head coach. And so I would expect that his ability to facilitate, move the ball around two different guys to the depth, and as well as get it into the two big men, I think is going to benefit them. And again, I'm not necessarily going to bet against a Gregg Popovich coached team. So I think it's
Okay,
close. I agree it's close, but
I have an interesting factor here. Now,
yeah.
depending on how you play alternate universe, wouldn't Steve Kerr know how to shut down all these people because Steve
That's
Kerr's on the
true.
team?
Steve Kerr would
Wouldn't
know
no
how to
Steve,
play the Warriors.
yeah, would he have a hell of a scout report on how to stop Steve Kerr and how to stop Avery Johnson because he played against him? Now, I don't know if that worked.
Future.
Yes, I don't.
Future.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what to stop Duncan because he told me the way he hated.
Back
How
then.
yeah. So that's kind of. I was thinking as you're saying, you're like the coaching match. I'm like, yeah, but Steve Kerr's coaching
That's
against
a,
Steve Kerr player somehow in this alternate
but, does,
universe.
but does Steve Kerr know how to stop Steve Kerr, the player? Does he
I
remember?
don't know. Interesting thing. John, how you got this shaping out?
I think the Spurs win it. I think it's closer than we think, but I think also ultimately, when it comes down to it, this team was gritty. They won games. Pop's teams were never teams that would like blow out, other team, but they have that grit behind them. I mean, David Robinson, phenomenal Hall of Fame player. Tim Duncan, great college player coming out and obviously became who Tim Duncan is. But when you look at the Spurs team, they just have the depth, I think, that we talk about in the NBA that can run with these guys and play physical. The one thing I do like about this NBA playoffs, they've been allowing a lot more physicality. If the Spurs team needed to play physical, they play physical. If they needed to play finesse, they play finesse. That 98-99 team. So it wasn't they adapted very well to their teams and wore teams down. So that's where I see the Spurs taking it.
Yep. So the Spurs, mammoth of a team there. Speaking of mammoths, shout out to the Utah Mammoths. John, you're a Jersey guy. How do you feel about the new jersey of the Utah
It looks
Mammoths?
pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. The color scheme on Utah's team is in general is pretty sweet. The black and blue. I mean, it's obviously almost the same as the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I like it. I like the Mammoth. Obviously, the Yeti probably would have been a little bit cooler, but I like the Mammoth. I like the logo. The logo looks pretty sweet. The way they are designing the jerseys looks pretty sweet. I mean, kudos to the NHL or whoever is designing these new jerseys, like the Kraken and the Utah Mammoths. But I like the name. It's different. It's not the normal. It's not like Bears or Grizzlies or something like, you know what I'm saying, like or Warriors or something like that. It's something different that we don't normally hear. I think that's why people are criticizing it so much. But it's cool. I mean, mammoths are pretty cool. I mean, long tusk and everything, and I don't know, I think it's different. it's cool. I like it.
It's a unique brand. They're creating a unique brand for themselves.
Yetis would have been cool, but obviously.
Yeah, that's what I always liked that. But of the three choices, I remember back when we had to choose from the three choices, that was the clear one.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, even though we don't get to hear Trey say the Wasatch anymore.
yeah, it should have been the Versace. No telling when the Mammoths were going to win the Stanley Cup. But Mike, there was something on your mind about Stanley Cup history.
Yeah, so for those that aren't aware, the way the Stanley Cup works is once you win it, everybody on the team gets a day with the cup. It's usually over the summer. Guys will take it and they'll party with it and stuff like that. But it just so happens that over the course of history, the Stanley Cup that we know of has gone swimming 3 times. So the first time was in 1991. Mario Lemieux, after the Penguins won, was hosting a party at his house, and forward Phil Bourque decided to test if the cup could float, and he threw it in Mario's pool. It didn't float. Patrick Roy, 2 years later, when Montreal won in 93, still the only Canadian, or the last Canadian team to win the cup, he tried the test too. Guess what? Second verse, same as the first, the cup did not float. But then we fast forward to 2002. The Detroit Red Wings win the Stanley Cup, and the Dominator, Dominik Hasek, their goalie, who they had brought in to secure the cup, was having his day with it, and he decided to not only try to make it float, he went swimming with it full bore. He went swimming with the cup. So cup keeper Phil Pritchard was tired of the fact that people kept trying to put the cup in water. He then ordered Dominik Hasek to dry the cup off and hand it over. Pritchard just left with the trophy, and it cut Hasek's day short because he was so fed up.
You know, it's funny. Actually, my Stump the Squad question was almost something around that. So I'm glad I didn't do
How many times the cup has gone swimming?
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't do that because, Mike would have clearly had an answer and given it away already. So glad I didn't do that.
That's why we should do Stump the Squad first, and then
Exactly. So we don't. So those of us that have a fact can win.
Yeah, that was very part of almost ended up being my question. To go win a Stanley Cup, though, you do have to have a great goalie. We got some great goalies in this second round. We got Stuart Skinner, we got Aiden Hill, Sergei Bobrovsky, amongst many other people, Logan Thompson. There are many great goalies. Looking forward to this. What goalie match were you looking most forward to, John, in the second round?
Yeah, the matchup that I'm looking forward to is going to be Jake Ottinger versus Connor Hellebuyck, right?
For Winnipeg, yep.
Connor Hellebuyck. I think Hellebuyck was on the Avalanche's team, right? At one point, or no?
No, Hellebuyck's always been a Jet.
He's always been a Jet?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know who I'm thinking of that was on. Who was on the Avalanche team?
That won the cup?
Yeah.
Darcy Kemper.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so I like Hellebuck. I like the way he plays. I've always liked Ottinger and the way he plays the game. Two young goaltenders, like not middle young, right? Kind of have enough experience in the NHL. I like how they have basically been the goalie for their teams. Basically, without them, that double overtime to secure it he was making some hell of a saves. When it comes to Hellebuck and Ottinger, I mean, has been like the back end of that team. The kind of like the Vasilevsky of the Dallas Stars over the last 6 or 7 years. I mean, he was the reason why they went to the Cup a few years ago. He's the reason why they're probably going to make a good Cup run right now. So when you look at that matchup in the West, it's going to be a good matchup. And usually you see a lot of the good goalie matchups in the East. So it's nice to see a little bit of a change of pace. It would go to the West here right now. Now the East does have some dominant goaltenders right now. So I'm not saying that, but I like that matchup. I'm interested to see how it finishes out. Wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the games are like 2-1, 1-0, something around there.
Mike, what about you? What match are you looking forward to?
So that is a great matchup, and I'm going to take it over to the big matchup in the East for me, and that is the Panthers' Sergei Bobrovsky versus either of the Maple Leafs goalies. It's either Anthony Stolarz if he's ready to come back from injury. He got elbowed in the side of the head and was out with concussion protocol and some neck issues, I believe. And if it's not him, if he's not quite ready to return to the series, it's going to be Joseph Woll. And either way, it's a good matchup because it's either Bobrovsky versus Stolarz, where Stolarz was Bobrovsky's backup last year when Florida won the Cup. So now it's kind of like, master versus apprentice type of situation where Ken Stolarz actually, cement himself as a Stanley Cup winning goalie himself, or it's Joseph Woll, who talk in kind of the Maple Leaf circle has been that he's the future franchise goalie, that he'll be the long-term starter, that Stolarz may end up taking the backup role in a year or two. So it's either Stolarz, making himself known as a starting level goalie to win a cup, or it's Woll stepping into the spotlight and taking Toronto to potentially a cup.
Mike, question for you, because you just named a lot of great athletes. And it brings me to mind, the Belmont Stakes is happening this week. Unfortunately, Sovereignty is not going for the Triple Crown, so it takes a little bit of luster out because everybody else wants to see the Triple Crown. Do you consider horses athletes? And if you do, where would you rank a great horse? So let's say a Secretariat or one of these great horses as far as athlete ranks.
So it's tough because I can't say that they're not super athletic and therefore by that definition of athlete, they're an athlete, but they're also not human. So it's tough to compare them to human athletes. So I consider them athletes, so to speak, but they're in their own category compared to like human athletes, because let's face it, I don't think a human can or will ever be able to run as fast as a horse. And they're certainly not as strong as some of these horses, because my God, if anybody has ever if people haven't seen a Clydesdale before, look up Clydesdale. Jesus Christ.
I cannot run
Those,
Well,
so 100 men versus a horse? 100 men?
Yeah, here we go. Let's do this. 100 men versus
Let's start a new
one. Listen, I have the utmost faith in you, but no. Not in running.
A horse can't, but I mean, see, everybody goes to the running. That's the irony of this, because you can throw 8 men out there. A horse can't beat, but they can't beat you in tennis. A horse can't go bowling. I mean, so I don't consider a horse. When ESPN years ago, I don't know if y'all remember, they had East Century, and it was like the top 100 athletes of the century.
Yeah.
And Secretariat been up there, and I'm like, how am I supposed to compare Secretariat to Michael Jordan? That doesn't even make sense to me. It's a horse. I mean, I'm not saying it's not impressive, but my thing is we should be comparing the greatest horses to the greatest greyhound runners or something like that, because that's at least in the same class, and we're going to be comparing athletes. So I just don't look at the horse as an athlete that can be compared to a human. The horse is, as Mike said, it is his own category. So yeah, we're not ranking. If Sovereignty would have won the Triple Crown, I'm not going to get done and be like, well, Sovereignty had a Triple Crown and Jokic averaged a triple-double. It's the same. No, that's crazy. No, not for me. What about you, John?
I don't know because they're athletic. They're athletic as fuck. I don't, what do you put the definition, right? Like, what's the definition of an athlete, right? Is the definition of the person? I mean, they're
But
strong. They're, what's
that's an
that?
animal. Right? What about cheetahs? Are they athletes? Because they're faster than everything.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. It's an interesting topic, but to be honest with you, it's a good
Never
question.
really considered it as the
I've never
thing.
really even thought about it. To be honest, I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, it's horse racing. I mean, if you want to put them up against like a race car or something, okay, I guess that's the closest thing you can in that sense. But no, I don't think they're athletes. I just think they're maybe if we. So I mean, I guess do you want to like list them out in the family? 100 horses versus 100 gorillas.
Yes.
But I think there's a special guest here that I think will answer this question for us. Jamie, Grandpa Jay.
Oh,
100 horses or 100 gorillas? Who wins?
100 silverback. You have to distinct what type. A silverback will destroy 100 horses. 100
One
silverback.
Will they catch them?
Well, you didn't necessarily say they were out in the open field because the
I
answer would
mean,
be no.
you can do whatever, and like in that sense,
Okay, yeah.
100,
If the horses decide to run away, the gorilla back, the silver,
the gorilla back,
The gorilla back.
the
the
silver.
silverback gorilla has no stamina based on what this is the new trend, based on what everybody's saying. So then there's no way it'll catch the horses. So it's not really a contest. That's the horses are going to run off and live to see another day.
Got you. So, would you rank a horse as an athlete? Ultimately, Jamie.
Yes.
And your explanation. Okay, so how do you,
Yes. Next topic.
how do you rank the all-time athletes? It's like your secretary ahead of Jordan, ahead of Brady, behind him,
No.
ahead of Karl Malone. I mean, everybody's
Yes.
ahead of Karl.
Ahead of Karl Malone for sure. Secretariat might be in the top 10 greatest athletes of all time, considering that when you rank those top 10, it's every entity you consider an athlete had to be way ahead of their time, and Secretariat was way ahead of their time to the point where they changed the game. In fact, I think there was a stat that said something like every single horse in the final in the Kentucky Derby this year was from the bloodline of Secretariat. So his legacy lives on even to this day, where he's influencing horse racing so many decades later. So yeah, I consider him an athlete because think about the rigor of the training that the horse goes through. They get tested like any human would to make sure, and we know horse racing is dirty anyway, so I don't know who's really doing the testing or regulating that. They are scheduled as any professional athlete would be scheduled on a training regimen, on a diet regimen, on supplement regimen. They are treated exactly like an elite athlete would be treated, and they end up making their owners just as much money as an elite athlete can make their owners from other sports. So they qualify and tick off all the boxes for me as a elite athlete.
I have a hard time with that one, but like I said, I don't know. I kind of put them in because then I ask people who's the greatest greyhound of all time because greyhounds race and all that things too. So I don't know.
The
That's
bus.
poor man's racing.
Well, but it's still racing. That's people can afford as a greyhound, not a horse.
Yeah, I could afford 2 hot dogs and a beer at a Greyhound horse track. That was my vibe back in the day.
For my class, I'm classy that way. I wear my nice hat to the Greyhound Derby. You bring me to a point though. Mention them having great owners. Mike, who do you consider the greatest or best owner currently in sports?
So this one, again, this is another one that was kind of tough because there are some great owners in sports, but I'm going to go, and you're going to have to help me because I'm not sure which member of the family is currently in charge, but I guess overarching the Rooney family.
So you're just saying the whole room?
Well, I would say the whole Rooney family, but I guess right now specifically, whichever Rooney is in charge.
Art Rooney the second.
Is it Art Rooney the second? Okay, I couldn't remember which one it was. But yeah, because they've been a staple of the NFL, which, NFL these days is king, especially in American sports. And they've made the Steelers a classy organization. They've helped kind of shepherd the changes in the league as far as hiring practices and, making sure that everybody gets a fair shot or is supposed to get a fair shot when it comes to being hired. And, when you are good enough to, whether it's the GM that they hired that did it or whether they did it themselves, when you are right in your choices so much to lead your franchise that you've had, 3 head coaches in 50, 60 years or something crazy like that. That's a testament to your ability to run your franchise from not only a business perspective, but from a football and sports perspective, and to give your fans what they need. Some disagree with what happened recently with the Steelers. Some agree. I know you agree with what happened, but I think it's the Rooney family overall, specifically right now, or Rooney the second.
Jay, who do you think is the best owner in sports?
Okay. I am most impressed. He's not the best, but I'm most impressed by Robert Parra, the owner of the Grizzlies, who at 36 became one of the 10 youngest billionaires in the world. And this guy's track record, if you look at him prior to becoming a sports owner, is insane. How he wedged his way in to becoming a billionaire. The guy took $30,000, hedged out on some credit card loans, and ended up becoming a billionaire. So visionary guy, and kudos to you for taking Memphis to where they are, because we know the town of Memphis needed some positive with everything that was happening there, and the Grizzlies kind of give them that. I think the best owner, though, I know you guys might disagree, is because the guy can't get enough of owning sports team, is Stanley Kroenke. To say that this guy has his hands in everything is an understatement. Rams, Arsenal, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rapids. I mean, the guy just can't stop putting his finger on every possible league globally. He's influencing the sports world. And of course, he has the money to do it. And the guy is winning. His teams, I should say, are winning, and they're playing at a very high level. So to me, if you're an owner who gets his hands in everything, you're not just focused on one thing and you want to influence the sports world globally, like I said, hell yeah. He gets my vote as the best owner currently because of his influence on the sports world.
That perspective, that's interesting. John, who you got?
Wait, let me guess. It's Jeffrey Lurie, isn't it?
You're on mute.
I can still hear his loud ass.
So you're the one to talk. So the best owner of all time, in my opinion, was Mark Cuban.
We're talking current.
We're talking currently.
We're talking current.
Is he? Yeah. Isn't he considered still an owner though, like a silent owner? He's still got partners. He's still got a percent. Yeah, he's still got a percentage in the team.
We're talking current.
Majority shareholders.
Everybody. Okay, Usher has a piece of the Cavs. I like his music, so my vote's Usher.
Does he still have a part of the Mavs? That's what I was wondering. Because I was wondering if he still had a portion of the Mavs, like a small percentage.
Technically, but he doesn't have controlling interest in him anymore.
Okay, so I mean,
yeah, it's very clear was why he keeps complaining about the Luka trade, because he keeps saying, "Well, I don't own him anymore," so he don't account for this. He himself keeps saying,
"I would have never traded Luka. That's the dumbest thing they could have done."
I mean, it is. This is the dumbest thing they could have done ever.
But I'm saying him himself keeps acknowledging stuff is not the owner.
Yeah.
So I think I mean, I'm gonna go with my guy Jeffrey Lurie. I mean, he's empowered Nick Sirianni's empowered Howie Roseman to do his thing and stuck by him by bad decisions. Howie's made a lot of bad decisions as a GM and has stuck by him. I mean, people don't realize that Howie's been on a GM for the Eagles for, I think it is 15, 16 years, and he's made some really dumb moves, but has counteracted them with really good moves. And he's all for the players, all for the organization, does a lot for foundations. He really embodies the players' foundations that are around there. So the Autism Foundation that he's really built into. And, I can respect that. If a player really wants to speak out on something that's important to him, he's backing them 100% a lot of the time. And, you see him out in the community, you see him out doing things. I think that is what makes it a great owner, is really focused on obviously winning. That's going to be the breadwinner. And Philadelphia, as we know, is not an easy city to be a coach, a GM, and an owner in. So, if you don't win, you're gonna hear from them and hear from us. I mean, I'm not one of the outrageous ones because I don't sit there and freak out if we have a bad year. But I mean, he's taken it on the chin every single time that the Eagles have had a bad year, and said, yeah, we got to do better for the city. and he owns it. And he says, and he ends up making good moves and is right there on the floor during the draft. I mean, I know most owners are, but he's right there, not making decisions, but he's there helping, doing whatever it may need. He's not Jerry Jones-esque, right? But I just think Jeffrey Lurie just has done a phenomenal job. 2 Super Bowls in franchise history, and when the Eagles struggled to win one in 04 with Andy Reid and Donovan, my favorite player of all time, I got to give it to him. So, but craziest owner, I got to say is Steve Ballmer. That guy's nuts. That was fucking crazy. What you got? What you got?
I got somebody you're never going to guess who I'm going to answer is my answer. Steve Ballmer actually is my answer. The funny thing, Steve Ballmer, and let me put it like this. Nobody would think I'm a Lakers fan. I'm saying Steve Ballmer is the best owner of sports. But when I look at this, the Clippers are losers. They're always going to be losers. I don't care. That's as simple as what this is. And I know, again, I give the preference of saying I am a Lakers fan. But the man was smart enough to get up out of Staples Center, go build into a dome, which most people, by all accounts, have said has been genius. It's been wonderful, great. Part of being a good owner is making sure your fans have a good experience. On top of that, other reason I love him doing that was because personally I think they should move out of LA. But the other reason I like him doing into a dome is because every day the Clippers, being the career losers they are, they would go in the Staples Center and they would look up and see Magic, Kobe, Kareem, Shaq, and they would be like, "Oh, we ain't shit." So him moving got to remind him, you know what? Maybe we can be something. Maybe we'll finally get to hang up a Blake Griffin jersey or something in time. On top of that, he's crazy, and that's the fun part about it because he seems fun. He seems like one of the fans, and that makes it great. Before, it used to just be Clipper Darrell in the crowd and 2 other people and the hot dog man. Now they actually have a crowd, so I'll give him credit for that. Lastly, the other thing I'll give him credit around is the fan experience. The Game 7, he goes out and he flies 100 people to come out to Game 7 in Denver, which was really sweet to go out and fly 100 fans out there. I mean, yeah, they got their ass kicked, but they're the Clippers. Of course they got their ass kicked because that's what they're supposed to do. They're the Clippers. They knew that when they got on the plane, they were going to lose. James Harden knew it. Kawhi knew it. Everybody knew when they got on the plane. But Steve Ballmer, being the great owner he is, was willing to fly these people out there on his dime to watch them get their ass kicked. And that's why I consider Steve Ballmer a great owner. Most owners wouldn't do that in their own fucking city. Like, I got to give that guy kudos. Even though they're
Trey,
still career.
Quick question before you throw it down to Mike is what city should he have moved the arena to?
He should have went back to Seattle. He should have been a superstar. He's from Seattle.
Microsoft CEO from friggin' Seattle, and he didn't take the damn team back to Seattle.
Stop.
Yeah, they should have went to Seattle. It was simple as that. When he first bought the team, I assumed that's what was going to happen. I was shocked. And maybe he just loves living in LA now, but I was shocked he didn't. That was always the move. It should have been them. It shouldn't be an expansion team. The Clippers should have just became the superstar. And we could have solved a bunch of issues. And Ballmer would have been a great owner and beloved. Ballmer would have statues all over Seattle. He would have did that. But, it is what it is. Speaking of the Clippers getting stumped out, it's about time for me to stump out some folks in our favorite time of the game, our favorite time of the show. Stump the Squad.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, girls and goblins, and anything in between you consider yourself. Welcome to our favorite segment in the show, Stump the Squad. Play along with us, but first you gotta like, subscribe, and comment. 2 points if you get it right. -2 points if you get it wrong. We're trying to get the most points here. And if you stump the squad, or if you out-stump the squad, however you word it, please let us know that you're smarter than us. Trey, I have a feeling that you have something up your sleeve that's going to stump us today.
Okay, we're going to take this to the hockey ring, my area of expertise. Mike, our original one. Don't worry, we always have backups. How many kids have been baptized in the Stanley Cup?
Oh, God.
Wow.
1, 3, 5, 6.
Say the answers you cut out in the beginning.
1, 3, 5, or 6.
3.
1.
Okay, gentlemen, today I successfully stumped the squad. The answer is 6. There have been 6 children baptized. Well, one person baptized 3 of their children there, and the other 3.
You know what, though? That makes sense because as soon as somebody found out, there had to be somebody who was like, I want to do that next.
Yep,
yeah, somebody did.
Yeah.
Somebody nephew or niece more, but yeah, we have 6 guys in the Stanley Cup. I feel like Mike's gonna do hockey. Let's take him to ice.
You're a smart man. We are sticking with the ice. Which team's owner once included his father's name on the Stanley Cup despite him not being affiliated with the team? A, the Oilers, B, the Maple Leafs, C, the Rangers, or D, the Penguins?
Rangers.
Penguins.
Oilers.
Sorry, you guys said your answers at the same time.
Oilers.
Penguins.
Penguins and Oilers. Penguins and Oilers. All right. Stop. All right. John, what's your answer?
Penguins.
There. Penguins and Oilers. Okay.
You gotta be faster than that.
This week, I have successfully stumped John and Trey. It is the Edmonton Oilers.
Damn.
Felt like it was a Dolan type thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely would be.
Before you even said the answer, I'm like, I'm saying Rangers if he says Rangers.
Fair enough. Let's see. We're gonna pass it. We'll pass it to Jamie.
Trey, I'm so happy you brought up Steve Ballmer, and we all know he has a ridiculous obsession with bathrooms. So I want you guys to tell me how many toilets and urinals are in the Intuit Dome currently, and you can expect this to expand over the years. Is it 1,000, 1,100, 1,500, or 1,700 combined toilets and urinals in the Intuit Dome?
1,700.
1,100.
Trey, say yours again. You broke up.
1,100.
Gentlemen, I have successfully stumped John Sawyer. It's 1,100 toilets and urinals.
It'll get to 1,700, no doubt.
At least 1,200 by next year.
Yeah.
We need another bathroom.
You need to not wait more than 8 seconds to piss. Get in and out.
All right, so the scores are Mike with 0, Trey with 0, and Grandpa J with -2. So it comes down to Grandpa J has to get it right, and
No, I have 0. I have 0.
You have -2.
But I got one right and one wrong.
No, you got 2 wrong.
Oh, okay.
That's what I have down here. I have 0. Then my wait, you can't answer your own question. Never mind, my bad. Yeah, you're at 0. My bad.
Okay, everybody.
Everyone's at 0. So my question is the Winnipeg Jets own the most penalty minutes in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far? Now, obviously, this could change at the time of this recording because they think they play tonight. How many penalty minutes do the Winnipeg Jets have? I think Mike knows the answer. Is it 120, 150, 180, or 210?
180. Mother.
Hey, my
Fuck it.
fault, we
I'm going for the win. 210.
Well, you should stop being a leader and be a follower because I have successfully stumped you. It is 180 penalty minutes, and I have the tiebreaker for you too. All right. Let's see. The Edmonton Oilers lead. Oh, no. That's going to be too easy.
The playoffs. With
That was
Okay.
specifically able
Hold on, Josh. The save percentage for the teams. Carolina leads that.
Okay.
What's their save percentage? Now,
I don't even know what that means, but
how many percentage of the shots have they saved that are on target? Yeah.
So
I'll say 86, but I'm not in the game. But I'm throwing out 86. 86.867.
yeah, I was going to say 80.
Price
Yeah,
is right. Price is right because it can't be wrong.
Okay. I'm going to say 90.
Today's winner, or what episode? 161? Episode 161. 160 winner is Mike with his fourth win, fifth win, sixth win, whatever. Fuck you.
What's the answer?
is 92%.
Wow.
Probably should have been got a
Safe
major tiebreaker.
percentages. So yeah, safe percentages for future reference. They're a lot higher. They're usually in the 90s. If they're
Yeah, I already knew I was. Once you said it was that, I was like, oh, okay.
I actually stayed conservative and was like 90 because I feel like that's going to hover somewhere around where it is.
I keep losing tiebreakers because everybody keeps throwing stuff of like y'all do a golf tiebreakers. Okay, well, helps me here. Don't worry, all about tiebreakers from now on for me.
All boxing.
All boxing.
Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali.
How much did he weigh to the 10th?
I will start throwing boxing ones out there.
Buster Douglas.
Yep, in handicapped here. So yeah, this week's winner is Mike. A lot more time still for comebacks and things such as that. A lot more time for some comebacks in some of these series. As I said, the NBA, NHL are heating up, MLB's heating up, but we're focusing a lot more on our playoffs. Of course, we'll be getting more baseball content out and whatnot. But yeah, definitely make sure y'all lock in with us. All of our social sync Pod 05. Like I always say, definitely like, comment, subscribe. We definitely do talk back. Give us some of your predictions. What you see happening in round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs and round 2 of the NBA. Real quick before we go, Jay, one upset NBA.
Who's gonna be an upset in the series?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
I think OKC is going home.
You think OKC's going home? Bold statement. Make sure y'all lock it in, people. OKC is out of here. And you know who else is out of here? Cinco Squad,